Picture, if you will. It's the first day of summer. Nice, cool, warm. Everything's been pictured after long months of grueling school. And tomorrow is your very first day of summer. Oh, how long you've been waiting. I'm sure your parents have picked the best, safest, and most secure place out of all. But in all honesty, I have no idea where you're going. No idea. Well, I can't hide it. Nothing is as it appears. Welcome back, Goosebumps fans. I apologize for my most recent hiatus, dear viewers, but unfortunately I was called away due to urgent business. But enough about that, dear viewers. You couldn't care less, I'm sure. You're here for one reason, and one reason only. And what I have for you today is the closest that Goosebumps has ever gotten to a psychological thriller. So sit back, relax, and put your shitting pants on, because we're going to Camp Nightmare.
We open on our episode with a long yellow school bus dropping off a group of kids in the middle of the woods. Thus, we meet the episode's protagonist, Billy. I swear, every time I see this guy, I keep thinking of Billy Loomis from Scream. I don't know why my brain functions the way it does. While the dejected kids wander around the road aimlessly, the ex-mobster bus driver throws all their suitcases and bags into the middle of the road.
What are you doing? This isn't Camp Night Moon. It's the middle of nowhere.
Hey, Camp Nowhere. We're here.
You think the kids would start questioning where the hell they were before they got out of the bus, but that's just me.
But that's not all, because there's a vicious monster attacking from the woods.
Latest technology. Freaks them out every time.
If by latest technology you mean fucking flare gun, then fucking hallelujah, we got ourselves a flare gun, boys, because that's what that is right there. That there is a flare gun.
This is Uncle Al, our main source of exposition for this episode. He informs the kids of their arrival at the titular Camp Night Moon. He also splits up the boys and girls into separate camps to avoid any of that Animal House shenanigans, and also to warn the kids of the several dangers surrounding the camp.
Right.
What's that, Uncle Al?
The forbidden bunk.
Why is it called the Forbidden Bunk?
Because it's forbidden. So stay clear.
Billy arrives at his new bunk with several of his bunkmates: Mike, Jay, Colin, and Roger. Oh, how I hate this fucking kid.
Good. I forgot my deodorant.
I'm gonna fucking beat the shit out of this kid.
Billy, being the ultimate bro, is nice to his fellow campers and learns to take charge when camper Mike is suddenly bit by a snake. Seriously, Billy, well done. And thus, enters my favorite character of the series into this episode.
Okay, who threw the sheet out the window?
He did. You're the counselor?
The name's Larry?
I don't know how to explain Larry properly here. I've never seen someone so accurately portrayed in Goosebumps. He reminds me of every high school camp counselor, every sheer, incompetent, uncaring asshole that has ever worked in that industry. The real terror here is these are the kind of people that are watching your kids. And the horrors keep on coming as Larry informs poor Mike that the camp doesn't actually have any medical services.
What do you think? Uncle Al runs a camp for wimps?
After a nice calming campfire in the dark night, the boys wake up the next morning to find that Mike has gone missing as well as all of his stuff. And I just have to stop and say here, I really love this scene in the episode, as it builds a sort of great ambiance and
Mike?
tone to the camp.
Mike!
I want to see the nurse. It really hurts.
Mike?
God, I did not know that Discount Dana Carvey was that frightening. You jump scared me, Goosebumps.
Even more strange in this episode is that besides the kids in the cabin, no one really seems to care where Mike's gone. Not the other campers, not the counselors, not even Larry.
Mike's not here, Billy. So I guess maybe he's somewhere else. Satisfied?
Ah, it's okay. People go missing all the time. I try to ignore it too when it happens. It just gets, I don't need that stress in my life.
During a game of baseball, Billy decides to go to Uncle Al for help about the Mike situation, which unfortunately bears no fruit. We do, however, witness attempted murder from Larry as he unleashes his Super Saiyan powers and hurls a ball directly into Colin's head. That very night, the boys are tasked with setting up a tent in the woods for survival night. And by woods, I mean freshly mowed green field. That's when Jay and Roger get the idea to check out the forbidden bunk. I don't really know what it is with these guys in that bunk, but Billy denies it so he can watch over Colin, who's still injured from the baseball game. Only a few minutes later, Jay comes rushing back with dreadful news.
It's all Roger! It's all Roger to pieces!
Why couldn't we have seen that? That would have been way more interesting than anything that's happened so far.
The episode reaches a close as the kids rush back to their cabin with Saber hot on their trail. It's almost a bit silly to me with some of the acting from these guys.
Their claws and teeth!
And thus, part 2 ends on a cliffhanger, as the cabin door swings open to reveal... to be continued.
Moving into part 2, it turns out the door opening was actually Larry, because Saber is a dog, I think, and therefore incapable of opening doors. The kids try to tell him about Roger getting killed, but he completely ignores them, thinking it's a joke. The next day, the boys head up to the lake after having yet another argument with the camp counselor Larry. Billy runs off from his friends to find a phone to call home, only to find out the phones don't actually work. This is the point where Uncle Al starts behaving a bit more, strangely.
I was just trying to make a call.
To your parents.
Just to say hi.
Well, that's not going to be much use, is it? I put it up as a joke.
The kicker here is when Billy asks about Roger.
I checked the files. There is no camper up here named Roger. No first name, no middle name, no Roger.
Well, that's not true. I mean, I know Roger. He was in my bunk.
Get to the lake, Billy.
Billy runs down to the lake to warn Jay and Colin that Roger may or may not have been real, only for them to fall into the lake and instantly drown, leaving a supervising Larry to run for the hills.
I was never here.
Now with everyone in the camp seemingly gone, we spend a few minutes with Billy running around looking for everyone, but honestly, I think this was just a chance for the cameraman to try some funky camera angles. A lot of people who reviewed this episode kind of give this part some shit for dragging, but you know what, I kind of like it. It symbolizes in a sense that Billy's world is falling apart, and we feel a bit of that anxiety with the music and camera work. I've actually had an experience similar to this when I got locked at my old school. Oh god, I spent 20 minutes trying to look for someone, but it was a pretty interesting experience, and I felt this level of panic in a sense. With nothing left to lose, Billy decides to investigate the forbidden bunk where he finds Dawn hiding among the rubble.
Remember Dory?
The girl you came with.
Yeah. We went on a hike and she got mauled by this bear. But our counselor said it was nothing and made her walk back to camp.
Why is everybody getting mauled off screen? I want to see some maulings. Come on, R.L. Stein. Come on, Goosebumps. Come on, Fox Kids.
They find several letters from fellow campers who tried to send mail home. Looks like they were never sent. What a weird place to keep them. They're soon interrupted by the sound of Uncle Al yelling through the trees. He's armed the camp like a militia in an attempt to capture Don. And of course, they're using crossbows instead of guns because, well, box kids, I guess.
These weapons are loaded with tranquilizer darts.
Billy, of course, being the ultimate Chad that he is, takes a stand and executes Uncle Al on the spot.
Congratulations, Billy. He passed! Billy passed!
Wait a minute. What? Yeah, that's right, folks. None of this was real. It was essentially one big prank. Or a test, rather. All of this just a test to go on an expedition to Earth? Okay, now you've lost me. This was shaping up to be a really interesting episode. Why would you do this? You've ruined it for me. This is awful. No one really died. Saber's not even real. It feels like I'm watching a Scooby-Doo episode here. Not to mention the fact that this is literally a plot twist from one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes, Third from the Sun. Why is the Earth that close? Are they on the fucking moon? Come on!
So, that was Welcome to Camp Nightmare. What do you guys think of it? Because I loved it. And I also really hated it. This is literally just stolen from an episode of The Twilight Zone. Come on, Stein, you're rushing yourself.
When it comes down to the book in terms of adaptation, this is probably the closest Goosebumps has ever gotten to almost completely adapting the book. I mean, seriously, this is a really well done adaptation. It's got the characters right, it's got the themes and setting right, and it barely leaves anything out that was in the original novel. There are a few small things, such as the addition of Saber, where in the book it was more or less mini creatures rather than just one, who, looking at it now, Saber didn't really play much part of the episode. Also, there were a few scenes that were left out from the book, such as a few characters that Billy got to know. There were cabin members that Billy would gain after losing everybody in his previous cabin. All in all, though, those weren't very interesting moments, so I have no problem with them being left out. And I will give this episode props for being really close to the book. Well, as close as you can get with 1 hour of runtime. For that reason, I can't really pick which one I like over the other because they're very similar.
I wanted to like this one. I do like this one. It's got good moments. It's the closest Goosebumps, the TV show, has gotten to a psychological type of horror. When it comes to Billy trying to come to terms with what the fuck is going on. The characters telling him he's hearing things, seeing things. Now, Uncle Al, Larry, all interesting and great characters. But they're just acting when it comes down to it. Within the world of Welcome to Camp Nightmare, this is all just one big act. There's no grand scheme, well, no interesting one. They're aliens. When it comes to Goosebumps, this is the closest thing you're gonna get to a psychological horror. And me, I love my psychological horrors. If you watched my review on the Goosebumps books, you'll realize that I marked anything with any semblance of psychological horror as a top-tier book. Like I Live in Your Basement, book number 61, top tier. This one, it just falls flat when it comes to that ending. Sorry, gotta say. But if you take that aside and put that away, this episode is really captivating in its sense of isolation, the ambience. The ambience for this episode is amazing. I love it. It got stuck in my head. It made me feel that I was actually there at this creepy-ass camp. Characters disappearing, something shady's going on, there's a creature in the forest. All great pieces that could make something amazing, but it just falls apart. And that's really a shame to see something so good fall so far. Did this episode really need to be a two-parter? Because I feel like a few things could have been shortened, a few things could have been lengthened, but we baseball game, for example, some of the forbidden bunk investigating scenes that really need to be there. Endings can make or break an episode, which is why something interesting and great like this one is just gone. Okay. Based on that, here's a ranking, in case you wanted one. Let's say 6 out of 10. Just meh. It's like I don't hate it. I don't love it, but it's a little better than okay. Well, guys, that's all we got for today. I hope you enjoy this little revival to the series, and I hope to bring more episodes out than I did last year, because that was a train wreck. So stay tuned when we cover our next episode. Have a scary day.